All right, we're online. Hi, everybody. This is Yannick, and this is the Ultimate Black Man Radio. Today, I have with me um, my guest. His name is Dave Landrum. Um, he's with the St. Louis podcast. Did I get that right?
Socially Conscious St. Louis podcast. It's a bit of a tongue twister.
Sorry, man. You made it real difficult for me.
We just woke black people from St. Louis. That's pretty much a fancy way of saying that.
All right, I like that. Okay, so you might have seen him on Facebook acting a fool, getting put in Facebook jail, talking stuff about black people, black women. Deplorable behavior, man.
You know what? To be fair, I've never gotten banned on Facebook for talking about black people, but I did reference a post and I said, "Tell the truth and shame the white devil," and Facebook considered that hate speech on my main page and my backup page, which caused me to create a backup page.
Oh my. That's here at the Ultimate Black Man Radio, we don't talk bad about black women, man. All right, you know, let me kind of explain to you because I've been on Dave's podcast before a few times. They talk about pop culture stuff that's going on that's like beneficial to black people, or that's going on with black people, black
Mm-hmm,
celebrities, so on and so forth, right?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a great time. If you guys want to go over there, when we're done, I'm gonna put a description in the sorry, put a link in the description for him. um what we do here is I'm a married man. My co-host is not married, but he is a black man in his early 30s looking to get married. um we believe in marriage in the black community. We believe in rebuilding the black community, and we also believe in black femininity, not feminism, femininity. So, we actually want these women to act right, you know. So this channel here is kind of spin off of what's called the Inner Beauty Movement. It's by Nicole Michelle. You might have heard of her on Facebook, maybe not. But she's making a lot of waves, and what she's doing is she's teaching black women, hey, look, we're lacking in the femininity department here, so we got to work on that. So myself and Gabe, made this channel to speak with the black men who believe in black femininity
Mm-hmm.
and also believe in black families. So, topic of the video is, well, the topic is about SNAP, Section 8, food stamps, welfare, and Mr. Landrum is very outspoken about that. I personally, if I do know people who are on welfare or any kind of welfare, they don't speak about it that much. So I don't really, I'm not in that much contact. Um, Mr. Landrum is over there in St. Louis. Might be a different situation than here in Miami. So what's it like over there, sir?
Well, pretty much wherever you go, you have your different tiers of people. I mean, anybody's familiar, in the class system. So, I mean, I would say within like our community, you have a class of ratchetness that's down here. You got your people that's here. So, not every is a horrible person. Not everybody is a ratchet person. Not everybody's like that. But unfortunately, quite a few of us are. And there's quite a few reasons for that. Primarily being slavery, slave culture, and what Dr. Joy DeGruy calls post traumatic slave syndrome. But you hate me for telling the truth about women because society makes women feel like they're infallible. Society has made women feel like it's okay for you to buck up against men and not get knocked out. Now, I condone hitting women. However, I can tell you, as a security guard who works at a discount grocery store on the west side of town, which is the ghetto, it's the hood, I can tell you that some of these females deserve to get mollywopped.
All right, that's a bold statement, sir. Why do
Bruh,
you feel that way?
man, the ratchetness that I experienced just as a security guard, bruh, not even including just me just going about my day and the different BS that I hear and see from people, especially namely black women. Um, but for instance, I had a situation just here a few days ago where there's this girl, probably in her late 20s, early 30s, and she comes in the store. She's been caught stealing. Of course, she's black. I just want to put that out there. This is not a slight against all black women, but she has been caught stealing. She has assaulted one of my fellow officers, and she and some of her cohorts are repeat offenders. So the other day, one of the managers called him like, "Hey, you need to tell them to leave. They're not allowed in the store." And this time they start getting loud and throwing stuff, knocking stuff over, cussing people out, trying to fight people. But it's like, I'm not going to let you do that because you're dead wrong. I I will stand behind you if you're doing right, but if you're doing wrong, I have to call it out. That's black. We black folk don't ever want to talk about the issues. Whenever you discuss the issues, no matter what the subject is, we always want, well, you always talking about the issues. What about the solutions? Until you figure out what the problem is, you can't come up with a solution. If my truck is overheating, there's a number of things that could be going wrong with my vehicle. So why am I gonna go out and spend, $200, $300 on a brand new radiator that I might not need? That might not be the problem. It might be something simple.
So let me ask you something. I ain't want to cut you off either.
Sure.
We do have female viewers, and if we start talking about cars, I know they're gonna be lost in the sauce. So you're saying that if a black man or woman is doing wrong, we need to call it out as black people. So my thing is this: don't black men already get called out for bad behavior?
We do, which is why I namely focus on women. And people get mad at the fact that I'm always going on women, but we've had this discussion on my podcast. A lot of, not all, some but not all, but a lot of black women that I encounter, black American women, whenever you get to speaking about what you did and what your role is in the destruction of your relationship with your significant other, they never want to take accountability. They always want to switch the narrative back to the man. Well, the man, and we need to talk about the man. Yes, he was wrong, but you were wrong. Perfect example. Just yesterday, I'm working in my same discount grocery store. Lady comes in with a gash over her eye. She comes in, "Hey, I need you to call the police." Okay. So I notified St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department. Came in, they interviewed this black woman, and she was a elderly black woman, probably in her late 60s, early 70s. She says to the police that this guy, or my guy friend in this hotel, the motel across the street, assaulted me. So it's my responsibility as the officer on duty to make sure I understand everything that's going on, just in case I need to fill out a report on my end, paperwork and all of that stuff that I have to do. So they go across the street, talk to the guy. They end up coming back. And they say, "Well, ma'am, The guy said that you hit him first. She said, well, I did hit him first, but I hit him before he could hit me. And two Caucasian male police officers. I'm not, overly fond of everybody, but you deserve to be judged on your own merit. So two white male police officers are trying to explain to this woman, well, ma'am, you hit him first, and then he hit you. So technically, by the law, we can arrest you both. And she starts flipping out. No, women can't hit men. There's no such thing as domestic violence against men. And everybody's like, whoa, lady, what are you talking about? Of course there's domestic violence against men. It just doesn't get reported. She starts flipping out. I'm getting ready to wrap this up. But anyway, she starts flipping out. The guy's trying to calm her down, like, ma'am, you need to calm down. Like he's reaching for his handcuffs, like, ma'am, you need to calm down. I was in a relationship before where I got domestic violence from my ex-husband. I know what domestic violence looked like. She was about 2 seconds from getting arrested. All for what? But something that really triggered me when she says that I had an ex-husband who I went through domestic violence with, and here you are, X amount of years later, in a similar situation of domestic violence. What have you learned? Apparently, nothing.
I believe women who well, my theory is that women who start with a domestic violence, like they get into this domestic violence situation, they kind of get programmed into that kind of situation, and then the next guy, they kind of seek out aggressive behaving guys, I guess. That's my little theory on that. Go ahead and talk about that real quick. I gotta take a quick call. I'm sorry.
Sure. I think that's definitely part of it. I do think that women do. Well, I'm just not gonna say women per se. I'm gonna say people in general get accustomed to doing the same things over and over again, and that's literally the definition of insanity. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. So if we're doing the same thing over and over again and we're expecting a different result, not only are we insane, but we haven't learned anything. And that's not to say that I don't love my black women. I do love my black women. But Shahrazad Ali said probably about the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, she says that the black woman has never been held accountable for her role in the destruction of the black civilization. And feminists, especially a lot of our black feminist sisters, not the feminine sisters, not the feminine sisters, but the feminist sisters hate Shahrazad Ali. She's like, look, you need to reclaim your rightful place as a black woman, as a black queen, and it starts with taking accountability for yourself. I had a friend who was actually bringing Shahrazad to St. Louis to do a lecture, and he got so much hate mail and so much hateful, spiteful calls from so-called feminist black women that he just had to cancel. He just had to tell her flat out, look, Sister Ali, I'm so sorry. I'm getting so many calls and so many emails. I don't want to bring you here and then nobody shows up. So I understand.
So, all right. So let's talk about accountability here. How did we get into the situation where, because, all right, there's a portion of black men who are done with black women. There are a portion of black men that hate black women at this point. I'm not one of those guys, but
right, you have a beautiful black woman at home.
Yes, thank you very much.
Very good. Proud of you.
Right. I'm not one of those guys, but the logic behind their hate is hard to deny. Okay, so now, how do we get in a situation where whether or not you care about black women, our
Mm-hmm.
black children, our next generation,
Mm-hmm.
could possibly be starving in the upcoming weeks. How do you feel about that as a black man?
Well, let me first start by saying this. It's a terrible thing that there's a government shutdown. I mean, it's terrible that elders aren't able to, you know, pay off their low income rent and, get their medication and stuff. I feel for our elders, whether they be white, black, Native American, Chinese. I feel for the elders. I feel for those who work for the government and are not receiving the check at the same time. We worked for over 400 years and didn't receive a dime, but that's beside the point. I feel for you. I really do. But my posts are not directed at those people. My posts are directed at the ones who choose to use government assistance like it's a job. They make it a job to get government assistance. You got to have the WIC, the Section 8, and the SNAP food stamps. They got affected. And I say, there's nothing wrong with having multiple children, although I do feel that if you can keep your DNA from spreading around too much, if you understand what I'm saying.
Hmm.
Uh, it basically, if you don't have babies with too many people, if you, I would prefer that we try to rebuild the black family and have children like that, or at least have a long-term relationship. I mean, we weren't allowed to technically be married in slavery, but we were married and we still had that family dynamic on up into the 60s.
Right.
So I don't hate black women at all. I love black women. If I didn't love you, I wouldn't challenge you to do better. I wouldn't challenge you to be better, to get off of that government assistance and stuff. And it's not really nothing new because a lot of folks' grandmas kicked granddaddy out the house in the late 60s, early 70s for welfare and government assistance, much like they did now, which the reason why Sister Ali says the black woman's never been held accountable.
Right. So you're saying that you don't hate black people that are on food stamps, Section 8, so on and so forth. You are disappointed with them. Is that a fair assessment?
I wouldn't say disappointed. I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily say pissed. I want to say pissed off, but that's not quite right. Somewhere between disappointed and pissed off. Like, first of all, you don't have to have all of these children. We are in 2019. As many Trojans and lifestyles and contraceptives and everything that they have these days, there should be no reason for you to be having all of these so-called accident babies. One child, I feel you slip up, that's an accident. Any more than that, now some people don't feel that way, but any more than that, I feel you're being negligent because a lot of us are having babies that we can't afford. You don't have a man in the house, and you have to own that. I dated a woman who I fell in love with, and I was hoping that we was going to build a life together. Black woman, had a beautiful black daughter. But despite me trying to help her, even just being friends in the later stages, after we done, kind of talked off and on, like, hey, I'm still your friend. I want to help you as much as possible. And one thing that you have to do is get out of this little small country town that you live in. There's just no opportunities there for what you're trying to do. And she used to fight me tooth and nail. well, this is home and this, and look, that's 2.5 hours away from St. Louis. That's a morning drive. But you have to get somewhere where you can utilize the resources that the government has provided you. If you need those resources, I needed food stamps about 10 years ago. I was unemployed. I was living on my own. I couldn't find employment. So I used to get 200. I used to sell half to pay my phone bill, and I would keep the other half to put in the house. And the only reason why I sold that half is so I could keep my phone on. So if a job would call me, I could receive a call. That's the reason why I did that. And when I no longer needed food stamps, I got off of them. I haven't reapplied. There's no need to. It's called assistance for a reason.
Well, why didn't you reapply? I mean, you could always sell more food stamps. Don't you see that as a legitimate business?
It is a legitimate business, but you're taking advantage of the resources that people actually need. And the fact of the matter is, if you're not selling them, there's quite a few of us who get these food stamps, and instead of spending wisely buying fruits, vegetables, and grains, and something where you can actually make complete meals instead of eating pizzas and pizza rolls, feeding your kids grilled cheese every day, they want to buy steaks, big T-bone porterhouse steaks, and crab legs. Okay, once in a while, maybe. But are you really going to spend $14, $15 on one steak when you could get a pack of hamburger for $5?
Okay, so you're advocating for black women and black men. I guess black men can do it too, to cook for their children and like cook from scratch and not just purchase, meals with preservatives and snacks.
Yes, yes, most definitely. I mean, it's healthier for you. When I was on a strict, not necessarily diet plan, but I cooked more at home. I ate out less. I slowed down on the pork, slowed down on the beef. I still ate it, but just not as much as I did. And I got down to like 235 at my smallest as an adult. And I was never that, like maybe junior high. Now I'm not that small now, but I hopefully try to get down. But I know that's something that I can do because I've done it. So as soon as I get in my mind, like, okay, I need to really start going to the gym and eating better. Like I'm trying to get there. I'm working on it. But it's like, it's healthier for you. It's better for you. It's going to last longer. If you figure you can buy a pack of with lasagna and it might be $7, $8, you might spend $15 in products and have a much larger pan of lasagna had you just went ahead and made it from scratch. Stop feeding all your kids McDonald's and Burger King and nothing. Like, what I find? A lot of our new age parents ask their kids what they want to eat. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that there's anything wrong with that, but at the same time, like, my parents were kind of from the motto, like, hey, you eat what's put before you. Now, all I hear from new parents, my kids won't eat that. What, chicken and dumplings? My kids don't eat greens. Your kids don't eat greens. My kids don't eat that. I'm like, what are y'all feeding these kids, McDonald's?
Listen, greens is actually easy and fast to prepare. It's not like it's going to take 2 hours to make some greens. If you were actually trying to have a quick meal, you'd be better off with some veggies. Just boil them up. But anyway, I digress. So let's kind of get into the topic a little bit more here. Given your statuses on Instagram and your posts on Facebook and so on and so forth, my question for you, sir, is Why did you vote for Donald Trump?
I didn't. I abstained from voting. I haven't voted in any election since the first Obama election. If you want to look up the, let me see, if you want to look up the root word of vote in the etymological dictionary, I believe the root definition for vote is to wish, and elect, the root word of elect is to choose. So, and if you really pay attention to how the government set up, they taught you all this in school. Your vote doesn't really mean anything. Now, if you know, as far as like a presidential, as far as that, you should definitely vote locally. You know, your senators, you know, your school board members, all of that that affects you more on a personal day-to-day basis. Yes, go out and vote, go to the town hall meetings, make sure you know what's going on in your area.
Mhm.
But as far as, you know, voting for president, well, you look up the origin, you know, vote is a wish. So you wish that somebody that you voted for got in the office. And either way, black community be getting stomped on anyway. So it doesn't matter if it's Trump or Hillary or Bernie or Obama or anybody else. Like, black people are still getting stomped on. So until we come together and stop getting off all of this petty stuff, just petty stuff, we could get past that and come together, which I know is very hard. Even though, even who wrote the compensatory code concept? Neely Fuller. Neely Fuller said that black people should not come together unless they have a specific agenda that they're working on.
I agree. Now, all right, here's a question. Do
Yes.
black women have an interest in voting Democrat as opposed to Republican?
Uh,
Black women, as far as women, their benefits they would receive, do they have a more of an interest in voting Democrat than Republican?
Probably only because of the assistance factor. I mean, other than that, they all play the same game. It's just some are more liberal, some are more conservative, but they're all working to screw you. So it's kind of like you have to find the one that's going to screw you the least, and try to work with that person and find out what type of resources you can get them.
All right. Now the next question is, if a black man has to vote, like it's by law, you have to vote for one. You can't vote an independent either. Which one do you think he should vote for, Democrat or Republican?
You know what? I know people are gonna hate me for this, but if you absolutely had to choose an evil and an evil, well, I choose the Republican evil over the Democrat evil.
Are you
And
serious?
brother, I'm serious, man. You know what? At least the Republicans will tell you how they feel. Like, you know, we don't like you N words, and you know, we want to cut government assistance, and you know, like I just feel like they're slightly more honest than the Democrats, just slightly. Because I mean, I'd rather an open, honest enemy than a false friend. And Democrats have definitely proved to be a false friend to black people.
Expand on that for me.
Well, like I say, the Democrats and the Republicans are just opposite sides of the same coin. They all work for the better and greater interest of the system of oppression that we are currently residing under. Um, Lincoln was a Democrat, or was he a Republican? I forget. I think he was a Democrat, but anyway, he was a Dixiecrat. He was a Dixiecrat. So I believe it was about the 1960s, where it used to be the Dixiecrats were the ones who were for the rich, which are now known as Democrats, and the Republicans were more for the poor. And they end up basically switching stances, I believe, in the 1960s. Honestly, don't none of them care about us, and I'm kind of biased because I'm looking at it through the lens of a Black American man. So of course my views are going to be biased. But honestly, nobody's good for us. It's one thing you can say about Trump. He lets you know how he feel, right or wrong.
All
And
right.
Hillary, she likes to. She's one of those people who likes to throw rocks and hide her hand because she was part of the reason why those crime bills got introduced back in like '94 when she called us super predators, but they conveniently forget about that. And then, you tell people to say, well, Hillary called us super predators, and she walks around and she goes to church with a bottle of hot sauce. Hillary, what is one thing that you keep in your purse at all times? I keep a bottle of hot sauce. How disrespectful are you? So every black person eat hot sauce. Every black person just walking around with a bottle of hot sauce in their pocket.
And you know what really offends me? It's not that she's saying it. It's the fact that they know and they're correct in knowing that there's going to be some black people who's like, oh, she got hot sauce in her bag. Like they know
Yeah, yeah.
that there is a portion of black people who are going to identify with that and they're going to love her for it. That's what offends me. It's not so much that she's doing that. That's what she's supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? But the fact that
I
we
mean,
got
yeah, you're a
some,
politician.
yeah, the fact that we got some dumb ass black people out here who's gonna identify with that, that's what pisses me off.
I'll add this to it. Asians don't vote. The Asian community does not vote. Look at the numbers. They have the lowest voter turnout rate out of any demographic. They don't vote.
They
What?
vote with that paper though.
And that's the key. They have an agenda. This is the Asian agenda, whether it's Japanese, Chinese, Vietnamese. This is the Asian agenda. Here is the money that we're going to give you to fund our agenda.
Well, you could say the same thing about gay people.
Well, that's how the government works. I mean, that's all a super PAC is, a lobby. That's all a lobby, a lobbyer is. You just go out and you bribe your, whatever politician that you want. You take them hunting and you take them overseas. And it's funny because have you ever seen The Distinguished Gentleman by Eddie Murphy?
No.
Anyway, it's an old movie that came out probably like 95, 96. But anyway, if you go back and look at that movie, it's funny because it's making a mockery of the government, but it's really telling some really factual things in laughter, in humor, because everything that the movie did, because like Eddie Murphy's just a con man, he's a hustler. Like if there's a con, he's gonna do it. And dude, like he starts off the movie, he's running a phone sex line with his cousin, and then he ends up like becoming a senator, or he ends up becoming like a senator, and he ends up getting into this whole scandal, but he didn't actually like run like everybody else. He just got in like by like sheer loopholes. And it's funny because he really shows how the government like really works, because it's the scene. They take him out hunting and fishing and all this, that, and they're playing poker in the steam room, and he's letting them win even though he's a card shark, so he could beat them at any time. So that type of deal. Pay to play, man.
So all right. What's going on with this shutdown of the government, man? We got all these black, what they call welfare queens, all right?
Yes.
I use the term because there's no better term, because it's used as a derogatory term against our black women, so I don't really want to jump on that. But basically, if I say who I'm talking about, the women in our community and actually in other communities. But let's talk about our people here.
Yes.
With this shutdown, a lot of our women are asked out, man.
Yeah.
Why? Well, I mean, why would they put themselves in a position where they're completely dependent? I mean, one could one could argue that the nature of a woman is to attach herself to a man who will provide for her.
Mhm.
And then you could further argue that black women have chosen the government to be their man and forsaken black men in the process.
Or Jesus.
Or well, Jesus is not here to say stop
That's
doing that.
true. But they like, I want me a man like Jesus. Okay.
Oh, so like Brad Pitt then.
Are you
Okay.
even and this is what, you say that this is what you want, and if that's what you want, that's fine. Shoot for the stars. But are you in a position to be able to receive that type of blessing? Physically, spiritually, mentally. You can't say I want a man who's a millionaire and you still living in projects like, those two things don't equate.
Well, try telling that to some of our women.
I do, and they get very angry with me, and that's okay because you need a person like me to be able to tell you things that you don't want to hear. They say, well, you should be kinder and you should choose your words more wisely. No, I'm not here to coddle you, and I'm not here to hold your hand and tell you everything's gonna be all right because it's not, especially with us. And these are the people that I strategically and strictly deal with is Black Americans. You cannot say that everything's okay. Just look at how people are acting, and the government's only been shut down for like what, 3 weeks, four
Yeah.
weeks. Look at how people are acting. Our people, and I see it in the stores every day. Women bragging about how much Wiccan food stamps they get. Girl, I get $1,500. I get all this like it's a trophy, like it's a prize.
Well, that's kind of like a bunch of housewives at a country club bragging about what their man just bought them, right?
But they have a man, and that man that they have, and if you say country club, generally speaking, country clubs are where white people go to hang out. Nothing wrong with that. But it's one thing that I did learn working in the West County area of St. Louis, where a lot of Caucasians reside. White women don't work. They don't have to. Their man, their husband makes enough money for them to have a $500,000-600,000 house, two, three real nice cars, and a couple of kids. I literally didn't think that women having book clubs and walking their dogs together in the middle of the day was real until I started working in West County and Never Hills. And I'm like, y'all really ain't got no job, huh? And I'm looking around, I'm like, y'all ain't got no jobs. And this is the area you live in. And that's when the wealth disparity really hit me. I was like, oh.
So basically, your whole life, you had not seen that.
No. I mean, I grew up around, mixed group of like whites and blacks, although, white flight and all of that. But that was middle class. Most of the folks in my area worked for like GM, Ford, or Chrysler. But when I seen the fact that you have a nice house, two, three newer, nice cars, a couple of kids, and you can afford to get landscaping work done on your house. Your wife don't work; she walks the dogs and buy groceries. I was like, oh wow, the wealth disparity is crazy.
So that actually brings up something that I kind of wanted to get into with you. I think there's enough black men on YouTube bashing black women, or that's what they would call it. I like to call it constructive criticism. But let me ask you this:
Sure,
what do black men need to tighten up on?
that's a fantastic question, and I was actually going to segue into that. What we need to do is get off of our behinds, and we need to go build something. We're never going to get ahead strictly by working for somebody else. It's called a job for a reason. It's just over broke. So many skills we have, but we waste them working a job. You know, Marcus Garvey said, be black, buy black, and the rest will take care of itself. Okay, we want to be black, but we don't want to buy black. And we don't want to buy black, but we don't want to build black businesses either. And it's not just for the young men, it's for the older people as well, because the older generations dropped the ball. They really did. The 60s, when Malcolm and Martin and Medgar and everybody got killed, and the 70s, welfare came in, and you know, what was that? Crack, mass incarceration, all of that came in. Our elders dropped the ball. They really did. You know, I was talking to this elder earlier. I said, you know, it doesn't make any sense for us to work 25, 30 years, and here comes the government shutdown, and you don't have any money. You work 30 years so you can get a pension, and you don't have any money. You don't have any side properties. You don't have anything outside of that job that you can you can kind of get some income off of. And I can kind of see the older guy, he kind of put his head down. He kind of looked ashamed, like it dawned on him, like, wow, I kind of screwed up my life a little bit. Because here it is, a government shutdown, and I can't get my pension. Like, there's something wrong with that. We have to be able to build an infrastructure. Yes, black women are wrong for doing what they're doing, but women are going to go to those who have the most resources. And currently, the government has, well, shut down, but currently they think the government has most resources. So I think there's that. Definitely black men can tighten up on that. Be honest, man. Stop lying. You know, I feel like a lot of black men have problems telling the truth. Instead of cheating on your girl, just telling you want polygamy, you tell them you want a polygamous relationship. Look, you don't have to like it. You don't have to like it, but I have seen brothers who just they'll meet a nice young lady. They say, look, you know, hey, you know, shoot the breeze and say, you know, hey, I already have a girlfriend. You know, I believe in a polygamous lifestyle, but I have this going on, and this, and this, and you know, one of my queens, she sews and does this, you know, and some females is like, well, I can kind of, you know, get down with that, and some women's like, well, that's not something I'm into, but I appreciate you telling me the truth. You don't have to lie about it. And I think we bullshit too much too. We bullshit far too much. We talk too much and do too little as black men.
Yeah, it's my philosophy to tell the truth no matter what. My wife, she calls me an asshole to my face all the time. I mean, if I'm an asshole for keeping it real with you, then so be it. All right, man. Look, I didn't know he was on here for an hour already. Like, seriously?
Yeah, an hour.
Yeah, man. Look, sorry, I have to cut this short.
No, that's cool, man. Because I actually got to get going myself. It's been a pleasure talking to you, White Mac. We will definitely continue this conversation on our podcast when Rebecca will be on there. And hopefully, I don't know, you know, people don't really like me, so I don't really think that I can get somebody with an opposing view on my platform. Well, but we'll see.
I put your the link to your latest podcast in the description. So we didn't have that many viewers right now. Usually we have a good amount. Maybe people watch the replay. So if you guys want to hear some more what the brother's talking about, go ahead and click on the link in the details. And Mr. Landrum, I want to thank you so much for joining here today. And you have a good one, all right?
Man, appreciate you having me on, bro. And be thinking about that Gladys Knight Super Bowl situation, brother. Because when we have to discuss that from a young black male's perspective, and as you know what it means to the overall community, as her being one of our elder sisters from back in the day. So just get at some thought, and I'm gonna touch base with you this week, bro.
Oh, God damn it. Now everybody's coming in. All right, guys. Sorry, guys. We got to go. I got to pick my wife up. All right, man. Thanks a lot for coming. All right.
Man, appreciate it, bro.
All right.
See you, Yannick.